It is week 15 of the NFL fantasy football season, which means one thing. It is round one of the fantasy playoffs. It's what we've been playing all year for. You are 3 wins away from fantasy glory. But hey, sometimes you have some tough decisions to make at wide receiver, and there are plenty of good options with no teams on a bye. You've got 32 teams playing football this weekend in week 15. So on today's episode of the Progression to the Mean podcast, we have the only wide receiver rankings you will need to win round one of the fantasy playoffs. I'm your host, Shaun. I'm joined by my co-host, my good friend, my fellow knower of ball, Aidan Holler. Aidan, just wrapped up recording running backs. Wide receivers is always a little bit more of a pleasant conversation. So I'm excited, man. How are you feeling ahead of recording wide receivers today?
Yeah, this is what it's all about. I know this is a football podcast, but Kyle Tucker is a Cub, and I'm so re-energized as a Chicago sports fan. So I'm ready for fantasy playoffs. I'm ready for a decent Cubs team. I'm ready for the weekend, man. So feeling great. How you doing?
I'm good, dude. Baseball chatter. Corbin Burns might be a Giant, man. That'd be cool. I know.
Yeah, he's kind of the biggest fish still on the market. We'll see where it goes.
Seems like Buster might close that, but we'll see. It's better to think about the Giants than the Niners at this point.
That's fair. At least not till next year. Not till next year.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll get my hopes up with the Niners next year, like I always do. Okay. So wide receiver rankings. We've got 50 wide receivers. Aiden's broke them into 6 tiers. If this is the first time that you have watched our rankings, well, first of all, welcome. Second, I'll give you kind of a sneak peek on how this works. So again, this is my spreadsheet. This is how we do this. You are going to be able to access this spreadsheet in the show notes, so don't feel free like you have to squint if you can't see. Just pull it up. Look at the rankings while I talk if you need to do that. And Aiden and I talk. Okay. How this works. So I've got the players here. Then I've got a bunch of different factors that go into how I rank them. So I've got implied team total rank. This is the Vegas implied team total and where they rank up against the rest of the teams playing this week. I've got ECR, which is expert consensus rankings. This is an aggregate of 150 fantasy pros, fantasy football experts, and the kind of the aggregate rankings where these guys land. This is my versus ECR column. So this is essentially how off I am versus ECR. Am I higher or lower than guys that I make taking a stand on in either direction? I've got fantasy points per game over the past month, expected fantasy points per game over the past month. So usage versus actual production. This efficiency column tells us if someone has been overproducing and could be a negative regression candidate. And the other side of it, if it's a negative number, they could be a positive regression candidate. Outside of that, I have the opponent fantasy points per game versus wide receiver. I've got something called an RTM score, which takes everything I just talked about into account and gives us a aggregate composite score. Lower the better in this instance. And then I've got a projection based off of usage and the defense they're going up against. So it's got everything you can need here. Got even some show notes. I can't promise that these notes are going to be super helpful for you. These are just kind of how this is how my brain works. Aiden, before we dive into the episode, though, I'm sure, again, someone clicked on this video for the first time. They're rocking with us for the first time. This is a tiny channel, less than 3,000 subs, by the way. Less than 3,000. Come on, get us to 3,000, everybody. It's a big number we'd love to get to before the end of the season. If this is the first time someone's clicked on our video, though, Aiden, what should they expect in today's episode?
Yeah, welcome to the program. It's good to have you here week 1 of fantasy playoffs. You are putting your trust in us. So, welcome to the show. We keep it pretty light. I think some shows get really into the data. Some shows keep it super light. We're probably more on the latter there. Shaun already went over in terms of like what we're factoring in to our score, our projections, and why we rank people the way we do. But we break it up by tier. Everything's in the show notes too, down in the description. So we've got it broken up by 6 tiers. You'll see the names of all the people in each tier. You'll see the time stamps so you can jump around, get into each tier, and then we're also going to have the actual link to Shaun's rankings here. So, just hang around, give us your feedback. You know, what's good, what sucks, who's high, who's low. We welcome all feedback. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever it is. We're happy to have you here, and we're excited to dive into it. It's fantasy playoffs. That's why we do it.
And we'll make sure to get back to all of your questions. Especially if it's like, should I start this running back versus this wide receiver?
Yep.
I might even just put running backs and wide receiver rankings together. not as a flex ranking, but I'll put him in the same ranking sheet so you can bounce around if you have questions versus those positions. And then you can reference the RTM score based off like what do you think the best possible matchup is given the position. All right, Aidan, ready to dive in, man?
Let's do it, dude.
Tier 1, wide receivers 1 through 7. I've got Ja'Marr Chase, Tyreek Hill, Nico Collins, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown. So I'll start things off here with Ja'Marr Chase. I don't care if Tennessee's given up the least amount of points to wide receivers this year, second least. This is the king of fantasy football this season. Ja'Marr Chase. It would be apropos if in round 1 he just came out and face planted. That'd be nuts.
Oh my God!
That'd be nuts.
After all he's done for us,
his face plant is 18 points. I will say, remember round 1, his rookie year, he had 0 points or like 1 point against Pat Surtain, and the next week he came out and dropped 50 against the Chiefs. I'll never forget that. It was insane. So I guess it can happen, but man, Jamar's not going to hurt you. He's been the best pick in fantasy all season. You're going to expect that kind of production. We're recording this Friday afternoon, so the Niners and Rams have already played, but Puka is clearly the wide receiver 2 right now in fantasy football. He has dominated that offense. He's taking control, and he's one of the more special players in the NFL. So I feel pretty good weekly having Puka as my wide receiver 2 rest of season. I'm high on Tyreek Hill this week, Aidan. I've got him up 3 spots ahead of ECR. He is back to being Tyreek Hill. Wide receiver 6 production past month, wide receiver 7 usage. Houston has gotten gashed by wide receivers. My only fear, though, is this Miami offensive line. It is down both of their starting tackles, and the Texans defense is probably one of the more dangerous defenses at sacking quarterbacks, and Tua does not hold on to the ball, so it could create a Devin Achane, Jonnu Smith screens game. I don't know, man. They're throwing the ball over around the yard. Tua's stats are a little inflated, like little garbage time inflated, but like he's putting up numbers. Like Tua's putting up numbers right now. So I don't know. You can throw on Houston, but that O-line is a concern for Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and especially on downfield routes. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. Nico Collins, I've got him up 1 spot ahead of expert consensus rankings. He is a screaming positive regression candidate, top 5 usage, top 19 production. Miami has been stingy to wide receivers, but I don't know. We just saw Garrett Wilson, Davante Adams put Jalen Ramsey in a blender. I think Nico Collins, coming out of the bye, is fully capable of doing that himself.
Yep.
Justin Jefferson, rematch against Chicago. Now, Chicago has very good corners, but their defense is not trying anymore. So I think everyone's a good play against Chicago right now. Amon-Ra St. Brown, his usage is starting to show, boys. You know, you've been playing him all year. You've been super juiced about playing him, but it's been flimsy. He's been ultra productive on kind of middling usage because they have a bit of an all lives matter offense, spread the ball around offense right now. Buffalo's been good against wide receivers. This is not a slam dunk start. ECR has him as their wide receiver 2. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing wide receiver 2. And then wide receiver 7, A.J. Brown. So I'm sure people have talked about the squeaky wheel. Aidan, do you know what the squeaky wheel is?
Yep. Tell me about the squeaky wheel.
Usually, when you're pushing a cart, it's the wheel that's giving you trouble that gives you attention. So the wheel that squeaks the loudest, you go get the WD-40, spray the oil on it, you fix it. So if you have a wheel that won't shut the fuck up, first F-bomb, 9 minutes in, first F-bomb. If you have a wheel who, when you've won 9 games in a row, won't shut up, you're probably going to feed him the rock. So A.J. Brown, probably going to get fed in this game. Wouldn't be shocked if he had a monster game. It's coincidentally enough, the last time he complained about getting the ball, he played Pittsburgh and scored 3 touchdowns. He's playing Pittsburgh this week. Time is a flat circle, $8.
Yep.
So that's tier 1, dude. What do you think? Who are you higher than? Who are you lower than? What are your thoughts on these 7 guys?
I think we got to get Jettis higher, or personally, I would put Jettis higher. Like, we don't need to move any. I think like these are the right 7 guys. Jauan Jennings just cooked the Bears, and hey, it's no disrespect to Jauan Jennings, but Justin Jefferson's just had the explosion spot last week. Feels like he's kind of back in terms of like those monster games right in time for the playoffs. So I think he's going to go nuts. Primetime game too. I think Jettis shows up. Would not be surprised if he finishes as the wide receiver 1. So really like that one. ARSB, like you mentioned, pretty mediocre the last 3 weeks. It's the touchdowns have stopped, and he is barely kissing 10 points 3 weeks in a row now. It's when this offense is so spread out, like you mentioned, if he doesn't score touchdowns, there's no way for him to hit home. Like, it's not like he's not like a 10 target guy. Like,
he used to be.
He kind of fits the bill of like a PPR merchant to a degree in terms of like getting a lot of targets, but like that's been a lot lower this year. So without the touchdowns, it's like you could argue to move him even lower than this. I think he's safe because like he's going to get to that floor of 10, but like it's kind of an uphill battle for him to like have a blow up spot like Jettas or Jamar can have on any given Sunday.
Dude, Tim Patrick caught 2 touchdowns last week for this offense.
Yeah, Sam Laporta is still a stud. You've got your 2 running backs like
JMO.
There's so many mouths there. It's
and they don't have a super high pass rate, and
they might have to
a
this
super
week, but
balanced offense. They have a super balanced. They're just very touchdown dependent. And
so
the TDs, love Tim Patrick, but the TDs need to go to Amon-Ra. I'm sorry. Come on, you got a guy on a Hall of Fame trajectory. Let's get him the rock, man. Come on. I mean, they're winning.
I would have him at the bottom of this tier personally. Yeah, I think AJ Brown might go absolutely nuts this week. But I think his criticism is valid. I think Jalen Hurts has been uber conservative this year, and then the play calling in general has matched that too. They're not really passing the ball. When they do, Jalen Hurts is taking 0 risks downfield. It's if I'm him, I'm pissed. Like these games are really close right now. You'd have to think if that passing attack was a bit more creative, they're maybe putting some people out earlier, but I don't know. I'm kind of with AJ Brown here. Because it's like that passing offense it's not good right now. It's like it's the lowest. What is it? Passing rate over expected.
It's
like
super conservative
by far over the last couple months.
I think his biggest point is, and I don't know if he said this or not. Basically, like I get it, they won 9 in a row, but if they actually want to win a Super Bowl, like you got to get AJ.
Yeah, they're not winning a Super Bowl with this offense right now. No. There's no shot.
Got to get him going.
Like a defense like Kansas City takes away Saquon, and then it's like, okay, now what? Jalen's a weird
quarterback. Jalen's a weird quarterback. He's just up and down.
He's good.
One year he's the best deep ball thrower in the league, and now he won't throw deep ball. It's weird. It's weird with Hurts.
Yeah, let's throw the rock, man.
All right, tier number 2 here: wide receivers 8 through 16. Courtland, Sutton, Davante Adams, Terry McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Evans, Drake London, Cooper Kupp, Jackson, Smith-Njigba, DJ Moore. So again, recording this Friday, Cooper Kupp donut just killed me.
Brutal.
Nightmare fuel for Cooper Kupp. Do you see that he ran like 5 miles or something? Did you see that?
Next gen like 4.6. Yeah, the Tony Snell game.
Bro, whatever. All right. Sutton, elite usage, elite production, good matchup, good game script. Everything about Sutton is good. Like, this is a good start, man. Like, it's a great start for Courtland Sutton. Davante Adams has become the alpha of this offense. They're force-feeding Tay. It's a good matchup against Jacksonville. Aaron Rodgers said he'd retire if they lost to Jacksonville. I would just
he say that?
Imitate. Yeah, he did. I think he did on the Pat McAfee show.
Oh, my God. I need that more than anything. Wow.
I think Tay's going to go off. Tay's a great start this week. Terry McLaurin, big play machine versus a bad secondary. My only fear is that he's kind of TD dependent too. As you can see, his usage 48th. His production 17th. Yeah. He's been very heavy touch. He's like the opposite. Terry McLaurin's having a weirdo reverse season where like his yards are good, but he's just scoring a shit ton of touchdowns. By the way, he's just doing the DJ Moore. Every year, guys who don't score touchdowns all of a sudden just start scoring touchdowns. So the 1 year you take, by the way, you're going to take Chris Olave either next year or in 2 years. He's going to play every game and he's going to score 14 touchdowns. And you're going to remember this. It's the DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin career arc. Yeah. But yeah, Terry's a good start. I digress.
I agree.
The only thing is like they go up 5 scores, or like they're going to beat the shit. They're going to drop them.
Yeah, in the running back show. They might not have to pass very much.
They're going to drub them. Yeah, I feel pretty good about that one. CeeDee Lamb, the ceiling is gone in my opinion, but the floor is still there. It's a good matchup against Carolina. Again, they've been a little bit stingier to wide receivers, but you still got to feel good about Dallas's chances to win this game outright, and then also for CeeDee Lamb to have a good game. Mike Evans, I think he needs basically 100 yards per game to get to 1,000 yards. have to imagine that is
we
top
still got
of
a
mind.
chance, huh? I
Yeah,
thought he
still
was
got a
further
chance.
off. I thought he was
Yeah,
further
he's missing
off than
6
that.
games. He's still got a chance. So I think he needs 100 yards a game over the next month. So,
Yeah, he's at
Mike Evans is
5'9",
always,
yeah,
he's
5 games. 4 games.
he's always due to just blow up. So,
Yep.
Mike Evans in the fantasy playoffs is a tradition.
That's true.
As old as time, man. Drake London. So we were talking about this before we recorded, but this has just been a really rough run out for London. The Falcons' offense is compromised because Kirk is just not mobile, and it's not even like scrambling mobility. He's not mobile in the pocket. He cannot move, and they've had to design the entire offense around the lack of his mobility. And when you combine that now with the fact that he's not driving any of his throws, he's thrown a couple just frisbees, like NFL level throws he makes in his sleep last year. He can't drive the ball. And this entire offense is suffering from it. And when you pair that with the fact that they're going up against a Ravens team that is bad against the run, but pretty good against pass catchers because their D-line is ferocious, it's kind of starting to smell like a rough Falcons passing game. And it's starting to smell like a Bijan spot.
Love
so
that.
I don't know about London. I don't know about it. And I feel like the luster has worn off a bit with Drake London. And it's not necessarily his fault. I think it has to do with Kirk. I don't know. I'll get your thoughts on the whole tier in a second. But Kupp donut, brutal. Usage has been off compared to Puka, but it's been the wide receiver 9 over the past month. Any donuts? Jaxon Smith-Njigba is a negative regression candidate. I didn't think we'd get here. He is so good. Like, he is so ridiculously good at football. Did you see that play where he caught it basically off the ground, didn't let it hit the turf, and then just breaks up field? Like, him with the ball in his hands was not something I was expecting.
He would have scored if that's on the numbers. There's no one out to his right. There's no one out there. But that was ridiculous. Like I don't know how you scoop that.
And this offense is bizarro. So just like, you're just gonna have to close your eyes and just count the fact that JSN's probably gonna get his 20 points like he's been getting. But
yeah, it's gonna happen.
It's not gonna be a fun red zone experience. Or like, I wouldn't put on the Seahawks game because it's just a bizarre team to watch play football. And then DJ Moore, quietly top 8 production, top 6 usage. Great matchup against Minnesota. The only question is like, is Caleb gonna be able to play quarterback for 4 quarters? Because it seems like Caleb has a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde type first half, second half, and I don't know, man. It's just rough. DJ Moore's another guy where like, yeah, he probably get his points, but it's not going to be a fun viewing experience. But I'll pause here. Tier 2, 8 to 16. What do you think here? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to touch on a couple of guys near the bottom. I think like Sutton through Mike Evans are pretty straightforward. Like, I'm kind of lockstep there with you. The Drake London play is interesting. Like, Kirk has gotten so bad.
It's rough.
Like, it was so much better the first couple. He has nothing in his legs right now. Like, everything is so wobbly, no zip. It is like there's zero like force behind his throws right now. I'd like to see Michael Penix. They're one game out of the division, so they're not going to do it. Unless he gets hurt, I don't think we're seeing Michael Penix, or unless they're eliminated. I don't think we see Penix, but pretty brutal, man. It's really hard to watch right now. Luckily Vegas isn't very good. They're actually about middle of the pack in terms of passing defense, but we'll see. Hopefully Mad Max doesn't kill him. And then I want to touch on the 2 guys at the bottom here. I think you can make an argument to move JSN up. The dude is on a ridiculous heater. No Jair Alexander again. He's already been ruled out for the Green Bay Packers. They're going to be able to throw on them. Just, bottom line, the Seahawks, they run such an absurd pass rate to where and K9's probably not playing again too. So just tack that on. Sharp's going to carry a heavy workload, but by no means do I think they're going to be some run first team against Green Bay. They also could be losing in this game too. So I really like JSN. I think you can make an argument to move him up a little bit. And then DJ Moore, yeah, like you mentioned, hung 26 points on Mini the first time they played back in Chicago. yeah, that's a secondary that can be beat. It's a matter of, can they keep Caleb clean? He got demolished against San Francisco, and I don't
Gross
think
Matos,
Flores.
3 sacks.
Yep. I've got to assume Flores is going to try to do something different to kind of confuse Caleb, because like Caleb actually had a really good game against him. That's a game arguably that they could have won. You could argue like they should have won.
Eberflus. That was an
But
Eberflus.
that was one of
Eberflus's loss from the Jaws victory.
One of his many fuck ups. But I like DJ Moore again. I think this team plays well in Minnesota. So we're in a dome. Caleb's second primetime game, right? This is only his second game on national television. So there is 2 Monday night games, so he'll be sharing. But I do think that offense and DJ Moore specifically rebounds, at least for fantasy purposes, this week.
Kirk Cousins' his last 4 games.
0 tutties,
0 touchdowns,
INTs, right?
8 INTs.
8?
0 touchdowns, 8 INTs, 63% completion percentage.
For his last 4. That's
0-4. 0-4.
They had like sole control of that division. Oh my God! He threw 4.
He threw 8 touchdowns against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this season. If you take away his Buccaneers games, he has 9 touchdowns to
15 INTs.
15 INTs. Or
Holy
no, 14
shit.
INTs. Not a great year for Captain Kirk.
I didn't realize. I knew it was bad the last couple. I knew we had no tutties. I thought it was 1 INT game. Yeah, because he had the 4 against the Chargers 2 weeks ago. That's pretty tough. I hope he can rebound though. And Drake London, surprisingly, is still doing okay. He's hovering around 10 to 15, but we're in the fantasy playoffs.
Touchdowns.
That's a guy that you took in round 2 that was printing points in the first, call it 8 weeks of the season. So yeah, we're going to need more from Kurt Cobain.
We're going to need touchdowns.
Yep.
Yeah. Tier 3, wide receivers 17 through 28. Jordan Addison, Khalil Shakir, Jauan, Jennings, Ladd, McConkey, T. Higgins, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, Adam Thielen, Jakobi Meyers, Garrett Wilson, Brian Thomas, Marvin Harrison. Just how we drew it up, man. Ladd, Jauan, Khalil Shakir, Jerry Jeudy, Adam Thielen, Jakobi Meyers, all ahead of Garrett Wilson in week 15. All ahead of Garrett Wilson and Marvin Harrison in week 15. That's how I just drew it up. Okay, so Jordan Addison, what a stud. What a stud. He's been amazing. He's just been amazing. He is such a good receiver to pair with Justin Jefferson because Jordan Addison is quite good at beating zone coverage. And a lot of teams feel the need to play zone coverage against Justin Jefferson because they cannot play man. They cannot man that man up. So he is just such a good complement to Justin Jefferson. So Jordan Addison, man, I honestly think what a league winner he's been. We'll see if he keeps it up in the fantasy playoffs. But if you've been playing him for the past month, it's like basically Jerry Jeudy level production, and no one's talking about it right now. Khalil Shakir continues to be a positive regression candidate in a shootout matchup indoors against Detroit. Jauan Jennings already played, great usage, but Brock Purdy was terrible. Ladd McConkey has been amazing over the past month. Tampa Bay, not a good defense against receivers. You just got to be a good matchup for Ladd. T. Higgins doing T. Higgins things, baby. T. Higgins with 4 points in a must-win game for people.
Unbelievable. And then he goes and tweets about it. I know.
My joke now is that T. Higgins is actually really good. He's going to be awesome next year, but he just is not.
I think he is going to be good. No, he's not.
You cannot rely on this man in a big moment. But
when you need it most, he disappears.
No. I was going to make a Dirk joke, but no, I'm not going to do that. Okay. Calvin Ridley continues to see good usage, but his production has been lacking over the past month. He's a positive regression candidate here against Cincinnati. Would not be shocked if he had a big game in Brian Callahan's first matchup against his old team. Revenge narrative.
Coaching game. Nice.
Yeah, revenge coaching game. Even though he left them, but
revenge. He's pissed.
He got promoted. All right. Jerry Jeudy. Cleveland's implied team total rank is bad against KC, but you can toss on KC a little bit. Judy's been good. He was a thumbnail candidate last week, and he did well. He delivered. So Shout out Jerry Jeudy. Whenever I put a guy on the thumbnail and they catch a touchdown, I feel good. So thank you, Jeudy. Thielen.
I'm feeling
Man's feeling it. Sexual Thielen. He's back. He is back. Bryce Young and Adam Thielen, baby. That's the 1-2 that's gonna win people some money in the fantasy playoffs. Dallas, you can toss it on him. Yeah, dude. Dallas, you can toss it on him. Lee Getz playing with a broken wrist. Did you see this? Or he's got torn ligaments in his wrist. He needs wrist surgery. Yeah, Thielen's got great chemistry with Bryce.
Shut him down.
I think he can play through it, and he's learning. It's like development reps. They're having him play X, so they're having him learn a new position. So I think they want him to get those reps out there. Yeah. So, but he's out here, dropping game-winning touchdowns.
Yeah, that was tough.
Jakobi Meyers, positive regression candidate, but you've got Desmond Ridder at the helm, baby. Ridder revenge. Ridder revenge. I'm good off that too. Go start Sincere McCormick. Garrett Wilson at 26. Really great usage, bad production, positive regression candidate, and a plus matchup. But I don't know. I'd rather not start any Jets this week, but I guess I got Tay higher than him right now. Brian Thomas continues to be a really good football player. Really good football player, even with a bad quarterback and an offense that's going nowhere. The Jets, I don't think Sauce Gardner's playing, but we'll have to double check that. And then Marvin Harrison, who's a massive regression candidate in a plus matchup. Would not be shocked if Marvin Harrison, because all your teams that had him have been eliminated, but I would not be shocked if Marvin Harrison had a massive game.
That's fair.
All right. What do you think, man?
Where do we start here? Yeah, Jordan Addison destroyed me last week. There's no way to put it. I got Jordan Addison and Sam Darnold so unbelievably hard. The 10 a.m. slate, I couldn't believe what I was watching. So, but yeah, you mentioned, man, he's been a great pick this year. The last couple of months, he's had some absolutely explosion spots. And similar to Jetto's, man, this is a Chicago defense that is seemingly lifeless. So, good play here. I like Jerry Jeudy again, like you mentioned. If you're going to be KC, it's going to be through the air. And Jameis Winston is fearless. So I don't expect this to slow down. I think Elijah Moore, when we get to him, is another good play. I actually don't hate Garrett Wilson. I'd honestly move him up a little bit. The biggest issue with him and Aaron Rodgers is they have zero chemistry. It's like you mentioned him taking Jalen Ramsey's ankles last week. Like, he throws that ball well and he walks into the end zone. Instead, he's tiptoeing on the sideline. There was no one within 10 yards of him.
Old man Rodgers is still like, you run your route and you run it here. And it's like, bro, you're dealing with someone who moves differently.
Garrett, no one cares. But the usage is still really good, though, which is why I'm on him. Out of the bye, he's had 10 targets 2 weeks in a row, 100 yards last week. So I can make a case to put him closer to ECR. But I get it. I think Davante has become more of the one there, which sucks, as Garrett Wilson was having is going to end up with a really good season anyways. I think he's already over. Is he at 1,000 yet?
It's Mr. Garrett Wilson, man. He's going to play on a really bad team, and he's going to still have a good year, and everyone's going to act like they wanted more. Yeah, he's got 877 yards, 81 catches, 5 TDs.
Yep.
Yeah, he's going to go over 1,000 again for the third year in his career.
Unreal. But last one I want to highlight too. You mentioned Marvin Harrison. I think this is a really good spot for him. Scores a touchdown every other week over the last roughly 2 months, and did not score last week. So if he scores this week,
2, he's due for 2.
Maybe 2. I don't know. That'd be nice. I'm just open for 1. Yeah, I've got him on a team, but yeah, the Patriots are fine. They're just below the middle of the pack in terms of passing. So I don't know, man. But we talked about it last episode. I don't get this offense. This offense really doesn't make any sense to me. Nothing is easy for him. Nothing is easy for really anyone in that passing attack, but I do like him regardless. So really good tier here. The only one that I would be, honestly, I'm not comfortable with Jakobi Meyers. I don't know if I could play him with Desmond. I don't think I could play anyone. Brock Bowers, actually, I'm still playing. Brock Bowers has
what a terrible run.
He is
you've
one of
just
one.
Nailed the fantasy playoffs with these Raiders players, because Bowers and Jakobi have been awesome picks.
Printing.
And then you get Desmond
Ridder. Fantasy's worst nightmare. So good luck with Jakobi Meyers. if he lays an egg, I wouldn't be surprised at all. So that's the only one here that I'm a little queasy about. We get a bit queasier as we get into the next tier here, though.
Yeah, this is tier
4. Yeah.
4. Yeah. So wide receivers 29 through
DK,
37.
wow.
Malik Neighbors, DeAndre Hopkins, Jalen Waddle, Jameson Williams, Rome Odunze, Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, Keenan Allen, DK Metcalf. So Malik Neighbors, there is some weather issues. There is some Tommy DeVito issues. There is some this is the New York Giants offense issues. Even though this is on paper a great matchup for Neighbors against a Baltimore secondary that just gets shredded by top end wide receiver talent. Wouldn't hold my breath. I don't know how ECR has him top 20.
I don't know how
you're going to play him, but
I was
top
just
20
looking at that.
Crazy, man. I think I'd rather take my lumps with Jakobi. I know I would. I have him ranked higher. Like I'd rather play the Raiders.
Yeah, they have Adam Thielen 10 spots below Malik Neighbors. Like,
no way.
We must not be taking everything into account because that's crazy. Like, I would play Adam Thielen 1,000% before Malik Neighbors right now.
Yeah,
1,000%.
All it takes is one play with someone like Malik Neighbors, but
not with Tommy DeVito, man. That guy is. With Drew Lock, I'm like, he's one play away. With Tommy DeVito,
Drew Lock was terrible though. Drew Lock played really poorly. Turns out,
at least like you got a chance with Drew Lock. I don't think you have a chance to do anything in the air with Tommy DeVito.
Like Drew Lock has he's at least gonna try and do stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Like DeVito is just a potato back there, just eating that. It's awful. It's awful,
man.
Bro.
Potato DeVito. Yeah, it turns out this offense was actually fun when Andrew Thomas played. Like you could get away with playing Wandale, Danny Dimes. You could play and then Thomas got hurt, and it was so over. I've never seen an offense crumble faster off
10 out of 10 on the Jover scale.
It was so over when their left tackle got hurt. So that's good to know. Andrew Thomas is a key when you're drafting Giants players. DeAndre Hopkins, part-time player, but usage is really good. Whenever they get in the red zone, they throw him the rock. So I think he's a decent play. I've got him 6 spots ahead of ECR. I don't know why he's 36. I think he's a fine play, honestly.
Yeah, I think he's a good play too.
You can throw it on Cleveland. We'll finally get. I'll talk about Xavier Worthy, but I have a little bit of hope here on Xavier Worthy, but I'll get there. Jalen Waddle, usage trending up, production better. Everything I said about Tyreek Hill applies to Jalen Waddle, but this offensive line with the Texans front is concerning. So just keep that in mind. If you start Jalen Waddle and you put a comment in being like, Shaun, what's going on with Jalen Waddle? I'm like, dude. Tua is like getting the ball out in a second, and those routes are developing downfield. So it's just one of those things. Jameson Williams, it's not a great spot. It's kind of roll the dice, but one play away from JMO having a massive smash spot in your lineup. So he's a fun dice roll, in my opinion. Odunze is regressing positively. We saw that last week, catching 2 touchdowns. They're giving him better route combinations. He's playing Minnesota, which you can throw on. Risky play, but I do like Odunze. He's showing promise here at the end of his rookie season, which is exactly what we want rookie receivers to do. Show so they've got something at the end of year 1 so we can draft them in year 2 confidently. Zay Flowers, what a weird year for Zay Flowers.
I nailed that one. I fucking nailed Zay Flowers.
Well, he's been really good this year, but he's had a rough month, I will say. I mean, he's at 863 yards and 4 TDs. He's had a pretty good year.
Yeah, I was like, he'll probably finish around 1,000 yards. But he was getting drafted so high.
All these guys are getting drafted high.
Yeah, maybe I'm not.
And they're not.
That. Yeah, Zay. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it is what it is. He has not. It looked out of the gates like he was going to absolutely smash, and his season has really slowed down over the past month.
Yeah, the middle of the season was really nice. The last 4 weeks, really.
It's just a weird offense. You see Devin Duvernay and Tylen Wallace. Not Devin Duvernay. That's an old name. Tylen Wallace and
Rashad Bateman, baby.
You see Bateman. You see Aguilar. You see Isaiah Likely. Mark Andrews has definitely played a lot better. Turns out, when you're more than a year removed from breaking your leg, you look more like yourself.
Takes a little time.
Jaden Reed, one of the most egregious misuse players of talent. Now, LaFleur is a great coach, and I get it. They're going run heavy. Jaden Reed is so good at football. It is kind of insane that they're out here just not featuring him. And they scored 30 points against Detroit. So like, who am I to sit here in my fucking room recording like a podcast? But like, come on, like Jaden Reed is so good at football. Like it does not compute his usage. But it's just my soapbox. Keenan Allen, slow but consistent with usage and production. And whenever they get into the red zone, he is a red zone threat. And then DK Metcalf is a positive regression candidate that surprisingly had better usage than Jaxon Smith-Njigba over the past month. But like it's like Roma Dunze where like they're putting him on these such low percentage looks. And when it hits, it can really hit, but I don't know. DK and Geno, I don't think have ever truly had that chemistry. But I don't know, man. I mean, JSN's just better, but
yeah, I agree with that.
I don't know. Tier 4, what do you think, man?
I like Hopkins. Yeah, really good spot. Feels like he's kind of ramping up as the Chiefs get ready for another playoff push in terms of like usage and whatnot. So, like Hopkins there. Odunze, 2-touchdown game, which was like the lone bright spot in that game. I have to say his dad is so fucking annoying. It's like another OBJ situation. It's awful on Twitter, dude. This guy is so brutal. I'm like, he's
like my son the ball,
dude. And Rome is like the chillest dude ever too. And we've just got this like obnoxious father on Twitter, just like chirping at everyone. I'm like, dude, shut up. Zay Flowers, yeah. Jaden Reed donuts last week. Feel bad for the people that missed playoffs. That one, usage doesn't make a ton of sense with him. Yeah, and then DK Metcalf, man, how the mighty have fallen. That was a big buy low candidate on a lot of people's websites and kind of articles and stuff.
It was your buy low candidate.
Did I do DK?
I think you did.
No. Maybe. I don't know.
I think you wanted to buy DK.
I don't know. We can't fact check that, but
I'm going to fact check it right now.
That one's been a phase plant over the last, call it roughly month since he's returned from the knee. Unfortunately.
Are we going to have to milk was a bad choice, you Aiden? I don't want to do this to my partner, but let's see. Let's see who Aiden had at his as trade targets. Aiden had DK Metcalf and TJ Hawkinson.
Honestly, neither one have been very great.
I had Trey McBride as one of mine before he got 14 targets a game. And George Pickens, who, got hurt. So
yeah, we had to do Pickens, but Pickens still been good. But
what are you going to do?
Yeah, it's tough for DK. Right now. It's kind of nothing's easy.
Weird offense.
Nothing's
really
easy
weird
for
offense,
him.
Man.
Yeah,
I really don't know. It's hilarious that Charbonnet and JSN look good, and then K9 and DK don't look. It's just wonky offense.
But they're winning again. It's like whatever.
Defense is good. Byron Murphy, hell of a pick. The D tackle at Texas, he fell. He should have been a higher pick.
Yep.
Tier 5 here and tier 6. Let's just blast them, man. Darnell Mooney, Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, Deebo Samuel, Xavier Worthy, Xavier Legette, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs. That's 38 through 45. That's tier 5. And then tier 6, I've got Quentin Johnston, Devonta Smith, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, Christian Watson, and Michael Wilson. Guys that I'm higher or lower on. Down on Mooney. Talked about that Falcons offense. Amari Cooper, we saw usage. We saw really positive usage, high target share. If we get another week of that, I think you're going to see Amari Cooper start to climb my rankings because Josh Allen, Bills, Amari Cooper, all things I like. I just want to see him be healthy and used. David Njoku, if he doesn't play, Elijah Moore's just going to see more run. Cedric Tillman's already been ruled out. Jeudy and Moore could continue to see like 15 targets each. So wouldn't be shocked if that occurred. Don't want to talk about Deebo Samuel. You're dead to me. BBL Deebo just killed me. Just absolute gut punch for Deebo Samuel this year. I backed him big in the offseason. He just didn't expect him becoming bad. That was not on my bingo card. Can't catch the ball now. Like what is going on with Deebo? So Xavier Worthy, funny man, because I say this every single week. But the Browns play a lot of single high. They're one of the few teams that are like throw deep. Maybe we see some Mahomes Worthy deep downfield magic, even though it hasn't happened really at all this year outside of that Chargers deep touchdown throw. Lee Gett is interesting. Dallas, you can throw on him, but he's playing injured with that wrist injury. And then I got the Indianapolis guys. I got Pittman and Downs. So Downs is back. I've got Downs up 23 spots against ECR. Denver's good against receivers. Pretty much what's going to happen here with Denver is whoever Surtain covers, don't play them. And whoever doesn't get covered by Surtain, I think you can feel pretty good about playing them. I don't really know how that's going to break down, though. Is Surtain just going to be on Alec Pierce? Like, I really don't know how they're going to do it.
Who's the alpha there? Yeah, like who?
Downs is the best receiver,
but he doesn't play outside really.
No, he plays in the slot.
Yeah, so it's like you're not putting Surtain in the slot.
Those are risky starts. Downs and Pittman are super risky starts, in my opinion, even though my projection model really likes him because they're going to see good usage and they have good per route numbers right now. So,
yeah.
I don't know, man. You got any thoughts on tier 5 before we get to tier 6?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, the Colts wide receivers have been such a roller coaster to own. There really hasn't been a ton of highs with Pittman, unfortunately. That's going to end up being probably one of the worst picks in fantasy. But Josh Downs has had some really good highs, some lows.
He's been really good when he's played. I was thinking about starting him versus someone else, and he's been pretty good.
He'll be the receiver that I want to own next year off all that roster. And then I missed a little what you said about Worthy, but he's becoming a full-time player, which is really encouraging. He played over 80% of the snaps, was by far his season high. Caught 5 passes, which is tied for
big passes high. Too.
Yeah,
he caught big passes in high leverage situations.
Yeah, so back-to-back games with 5 catches, which are his career high. It does feel like the needle is trending up. It feels a little untimely given that Marquise Hollywood-Brown is going to return what feels like any day now. They think he is going to return before the end of the season, which DeAndre Hopkins is not in danger of Marquise Brown touches. It is 100% Xavier Worthy. So I think he's got a good spot this week. It's just it could end shortly. Not end, but I do think he goes back to a part-time player probably in the next week.
Dude, I'm now realizing for some reason Tank Dell isn't in here. Tank Dell, wide receiver 40. Just throw that in there. I know it's like, where's Dell?
He's ECR like 35. I was just looking at him.
He's such an afterthought that we forgot he was not in the rankings. That's how rough it's been a year for Tank Dell.
Yeah, because Thorman had him at 39.
Yeah, I think Tank Dell in the 40 range ahead of Elijah Mitchell. I mean, Elijah Moore is probably where I'd have him.
How is he not in there, though? Where do you think ECR has him? Let's see.
I think around there.
Yeah, I'm just pulling it up real fast.
Elijah Moore and Tank Dell, just so we drew it up.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I've got him down at... They have him below at 43. Yep, that's fair. That's pretty good.
Tier 6 here, QJ, Davante Smith, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, Christian Watson, Michael Wilson. So QJ, I don't know if you can play him with lad back. Davante Smith. So Smith looked good last week, coming back from the injury, looked healthy. I'm just kind of think they're gonna throw the ball to AJ Brown. That's the only reason I'm kind of low on him. But Smitty's a really good player. So
the wheels have kind of fallen off the bus on that one. Was feeling like a really good pick early on, but we've already complained about it. This passing attack can barely even support one person. It's really not even supporting one person. I find it hard to believe that it's going to support them both in a matchup. Wow. In a matchup, nonetheless, that is not advantageous. So, yeah, tough for Smitty, but I don't see it getting any. Like, you could bench him. You probably should. I'm
playing this matchup, but
if you don't have better options, like I get it, but yeah, it's not a good run out this week for
him. Watson's fine. He for some reason gets more run than Jaden Reed, and Michael Wilson's a good real life player.
Michael Wilson is a good football player, makes great catches all the time, but never going to get enough volume with Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride there to be like consistently relevant. Yeah. Yep.
50 wide receivers, man.
50 wide receivers, man. Good luck, everyone, this week. That's what it's all about. It's time.
Put up or
time
shut
to be great.
We do this for you guys. Wishing you all the best of luck. Aidan, thank you for joining, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Until next time.